The firefighters were the first on scene. They had to bust open the front door, and they found themselves at the top of a steep and narrow staircase. They had to shimmy past an electrical chairlift to get to the bottom of the staircase. And just past a shelving unit that housed knickknacks from over 26 countries, lie a woman in her 70s on the floor, shirtless, and they were met with a shaky voice. I'm glad I put my pretty brassiere on today. This was my tutu, my grandmother, born and raised in Hawaii, just as her mother was. And her fall, this fall that she just had, was an eventual diagnosis to 4th degree pancreatic cancer. But she was a cheeky woman, full of spirit and lightheartedness, despite her hardships. She lost her firstborn son when he was 14 years old to a rare bone cancer. And this led to the family that broke up, and she split from my grandfather about 20 years into their marriage. But she found new life again, traveling the world as a solo woman. And by the time she had passed, she'd been to over 26 countries. She found new life and joy again, moving through, not despite, her hardships and struggles. And I remember I would go visit my tutu, and she would invest 3, maybe 4 tutu teenies in me. Tutu teenie is simply, as our family got to know real well, extra dirty gin martini with 2 olives. And she would have a tutu teenie in one hand and a long cigarette bitch stick in another. And she would let me tell her for hours about boyfriends and school. She wanted to know and pined about every detail of every tennis point that I played. That was important to me at the time. And I've played over 1,000 games of tennis in my lifetime, but my mother's never been to one. And I remember a time I was maybe 10 years old, and I'm looking in a full-length mirror, and she's berating me up and down. And you remember that old rule? They might still have it now, where if you put your fingers at your side and your shorts are shorter than where your fingertips hit, you'd wear these god-awful sweatpants that the PE teacher would lend you for the day. You'd go wash them and bring them home, bring them back to the school. Well, at 10 years old, I'm a gangly 90 pounds, and I didn't realize that my body would be sexualized if my shorts were an inch shorter than where my fingertips hit. And so that was the first time I had really felt shame. And that shame was weaved through that relationship for years. And that hardship for her, she always struggled with a scarcity mindset. And that was brought forth in our childhood. And the only time the firemen ever visited our house was to resuscitate her heart after an overdose. And she ended up in live-in rehab, being state ordered. And my brothers and I got the opportunity to move across town and go live with my father and build that relationship we never had in our lifetime. And that was beautiful. And 4 years later, I get accepted to Gonzaga with the encouragement and support of my tutu along the way, always encouraging me and giving me her boldness and spirit, and encouraging me to join different clubs and travel whenever I could. And I'm about to graduate, and I take one last interview, and somehow I thought I was interviewing for a nanny position, but it turned out I was interviewing to be an executive assistant for a public figure. How those wires got crossed in the application process, I'm not exactly sure. So by the third interview, they invite me down to the LA Convention Center to go to the event in person. And it's a 3-day convention called the Fire Walk. And on the third day, myself and thousands of other people who have paid to be there, are going to walk across this 10-foot line of hot coals with our bare feet. I did it. And, I'm not sure I'm not sure that I, felt anything, because strategically they had us walk a 1/4 mile down a path of this asphalt gravel mixture. So by the time we'd all kicked our shoes off in the LA Convention Center, your feet are so damn numb. I'm not sure if it was that or the really hot LA firemen at the end of the fire pit ready to sweep you up and plop you down in a bucket of 5-gallon cold water. So they fly me back to Spokane, and I come down from that high, and I end up rejecting the job offer. My dad thought I was crazy. My little brother thought I was really crazy. But I thought back to the summer before, when my dad was walking us through the island where he grew up in different childhood spots. And we stopped and looked in the window of this old building that my tutu had a beauty salon at for over 25 years on the island. And it helped support her family. And my dad was beaming with pride and with joy, talking about the community that she helped build with this small business and around her. Despite losing her son when he was 14, despite all of her hardships. And I wanted to bring a piece of that back from the island with me. And not even working for someone as famous as Tony Robbins was going to do that for me. And so I started my own business. I took a risk. I was bold. And I was able to build community around a company that I sold this last December after 8 years, called Pantry Fuel. And after serving over 60,000 meals to my community, I was drawn back here to build that. And I sold it 2 weeks before having my first baby girl. This was a year ago. And I get to bring that spirit of tutu to my children, and I get to speak love and encouragement and cheekiness into my very spicy children. Thank you.